think it's been evolving since my first movie, and I have the same deep for every movie through, and we're really trying to make it subjective and experiential, and like every choice we're making, from the aspect ratio to the camera movement or lack of camera movement, everything is about trying to either literally or kind of spiritually connect you and put you in the main character's headspace. And for this movie, that's very much Tyler, and then that's very much Emily, and sort of making it such a subjective, expressionistic journey, and then letting it, at the end of each of their journey, kind of pop out and see every other character and this connection between all these human beings. But yeah, so the style is really about bringing you as close to their headspace for where they're at any given time. Yeah.
So when you're shooting, like when you're using different aspect ratios, I guess you're just looking through the lens and there's, it tells you where you're framing, but is that all done in post?
Yeah, well, it depends. It's basically, the plan is set up beforehand, so like aspect ratios are written into the script, and then Drew and I shot list everything to death and talking about the arc of the whole story and where everything's going in the broader picture. So then when you get there and you're doing it on the day, we know, because obviously it's all out of order and scrambled, we know exactly where we are and why we're doing what we're doing. And for the ratios, usually, it was fun with this movie. Almost every day we'd have at least 2 or 3 ratios we were going between. And you can change, like I have my handheld monitor, and Drew or Teddy, our AC, will fix it with the right ratio so I can see it as we're shooting it. And then in post, sometimes it's literally just like decompressing, de-squeezing the anamorphic footage to give it native anamorphic, just applying the 133 frames for any 4x3 footage, and the same for 240. So it kind of fluctuates, yeah.
How much of that is in the script, and how much of it do you discover in the editing?
Pretty much, at least the visuals and ratio-wise, is all in the script and all in the shot listing and planning. And we plan until we'll shot list for days until it's a second skin. That being said, we know it so well that we're ready to adapt and change it and throw it out on the day if we're more inspired by something. Not so much aspect ratios, because we almost have them clearly as like chapter markers throughout the story and know exactly when they're happening and how we're going to do the change. But then once we're in that zone of that film, or in that zone of the film, and we know what we're playing in, then if we find something better, we'll adapt or change, or if it helps the actors or something.
So what about the color palette?
Yeah.
Obviously that's chosen with your creative collaborators before the film, but I mean, do you have to shoot certain scenes sequentially in order to keep that mojo going, so to speak?
Yeah, it's with these kind of movies, it's a big mix too, because some things we literally can't control in the environment. We're shooting in real locations, so it's like scouting and trying to find the right places that fit with a palette, and a palette what you're going for. It's another case of like just trying to make it make it feel sort of right for Ty or M's headspace for wherever they're at in their journey. And some stuff, it's even to like, we find this school that looks amazing with this color palette. Oh, what if we use this section of the school for Emily and this section of the school for Tyler? And then just pushing stuff, Sometimes it's just being real and natural, like if you're in a courthouse or abortion clinic and making it as real as possible, or if this character's at such an intense headspace, we're trying to echo his headspace and push the fire as far as we can push it expressionistically, or push the colors of the red and blue cop lights to make it feel like we're there with them at an even more extreme place, and play with lens flares, and yeah, I don't know, it's all there.
Your previous films basically took place in a single location.
Yeah.
That was obviously a conscious decision to kind of open up. Yeah. Talk about that.
It felt amazing. It felt really liberating. And I think I was dying to do it. And I think the last movie before this one, I was literally feeling claustrophobic making it. And then, I just wanted to explode out and explore the world and like try to do a more sprawling, bigger story. And it was amazing. We went from basically one location in each movie to over 50 locations and a ton of car work, and it was harder in a sense, but so much fun.
The music in the film, you had previously worked with Brian McComber,
Yeah.
and then you've got Trent and Atticus,
Yeah.
and obviously they bring a whole varied history with them, Social Network. What was that like? Why did you decide to go with different music composers?
It was amazing. It was just natural and organic. They reached out, and it felt right, even to the fact when I tore my shoulder in high school, I remember filming videos in my backyard and listening to 9 Inch Nails and editing into it, so it just felt kind of meant to be. And they reached out and were fans, and I was shocked. I was like, well, I'm a fan of y'all. And they loved the script, and it was amazing working with them. I think for the score especially, it was really another case of making a sonic spirit and subconscious that feels like the inside of the characters and the spirit coming out, I hope, and linking brother and sister sort of musically,
Yeah, even before Trent Reznor was doing, actively doing soundtracks, he was being used like Man on Fire,
Yeah.
Tony Scott,
Totally.
and it was just like, wow, you realize this is like great soundtrack.
Absolutely.
How do you see your part as one of the new directors? It doesn't matter how old you are, but you're one of a handful of directors that has come up in the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years. And you realize somebody like Martin Scorsese, James Cameron, Spielberg, they're great and everything, but they've only got a few films left.
Yeah.
Whereas you're looking at your entire career in front of you. Do you sense that place in film history?
All I can do is just care to push as hard as I can and try to, I hope, make unique films that feel bold and push, So, I don't know. Those are my heroes. I love them. All I'm trying to do is make as great of movies as I can make. So I hope I can one day be compared to that,
I know you, from talking to you previously, had worked on Tree of Life.
Yeah.
There's evidently a Criterion release, and I haven't seen it, but they've added something like 20 minutes? Is it 20 minutes? So are the scenes that they shot inside the Museum of Fine Arts in the new cut?
I still haven't seen the new cut.
Okay.
I have it at home sitting in my on my bookshelf, so
There's not
excited
enough
to
time.
watch it. I haven't had time. I've been so damn busy with this movie, but I'm dying to. I hope they're in it.
Have you seen Hidden Life?
I haven't seen Hidden Life either, and I'm dying to.
There's an interesting thing about film images, and it struck me, the New World. They screened it to the press, and then way in advance, and then a month later they're like, okay, he's done a new cut.
Yeah.
And so I was going to see the new cut, and all I could remember, I obviously remember the entire film, but all I'm thinking about, there was one shot of Colin Farrell where they make him sleep upside down. They hang him by his foot.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, is that shot going to be in the new cut?
Yeah.
'Cause I just remember that shot. That was an awesome shot.
Sounds like a striking image.
Yeah, and so I'm watching the film, waiting for that shot to show up, and it does, and it's like a half a second, and I was like, wow. How amazing film is that something so short can stay with you for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. One striking image can just penetrate your subconscious. It's amazing. It's one of the things I love about movies. It made this movie very hard because we shot way more. We shot enough for a 4-hour movie. Right. And my first cut was 3.5 hours. So killing your babies and some of your favorite images